Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Big Joel Show. Today, I'm very excited about my guest today. My guest today is Austin Reed, who lives and works in Boston, formerly known as AFB, or Austin from Boston in another life. And he is an up-and-coming loan officer in Boston, killing it, doing lots of business. We met each other when you think, Austin? 2011, you think? Right? 2012, maybe?
Yeah, 11 or 12, something like that.
2011 or 12. I'm going to let Austin tell his story here in a second. And when Austin was brand new to the business, and we've kept in touch, and I've really enjoyed watching his meteoric rise. He's currently a branch manager with Guaranteed Rate Mortgage in Boston. So, Austin, welcome to the show. And if you could just start, just give everyone your background, tell people how old you are. You know, average age of loan officers is 53. Not a lot of young people out there in the business. Why I'm not quite sure, but give people a little background on you, please.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. And so I guess I started in the business 6 or 7 years ago now at this point. And I started with another company before Guaranteed Rate, which is where I kind of learned the ropes. I went out, and that's where we met the first time, was out in California.
Prospect Mortgage. Yeah.
Prospect Mortgage. There was like a 30-day crash course in training up younger people in order to try and make sure that we could reduce the average age of loan officers from 53?
53.
53.
53.
And so I have kind of been just I learned the ropes back then, and have been just kind of originating ever since. It was kind of a 30-day crash course, and then kind of hit the streets. And you and I worked together for a couple of years pretty closely at the beginning there. And then it's just been kind of, a lot of learning by experience. I don't want to say trial by fire, because I don't think there were a ton of fires, but there's a lot of learning through experience kind of from there until now.
Now, how old are you?
I am 31.
31.
Which feels old.
I mean, it's extremely old. I'll put it that way. And you, so you have officially been a loan officer for, is it like 6 years? You did a couple of things before.
Yeah.
Really, this is your first full career, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So everyone out there, we got a guy here who really just came out of college, did a couple of things, and then got into the mortgage business. And I think, Austin, I'm not going to look over, but I think, did you close over 100 units last year? Is that what I saw? Did I see 111? 111 units. Yep. So that's about
112, something like that.
nine units a month. What percentage of that was purchase? Was it all purchase, pretty much?
Pretty much. It's nice now. I've kind of hit a stride where there's some refis that are coming in more consistently, but it's not really a huge percentage of my business, just because when I got in, rates were about as low as they've literally ever been. So most of the people that I've, done a loan for in the past have, seen rates go up since they got their first mortgage. So some repeat purchase clients, some refinancing for restructuring or cash out or things like that. But I haven't really had like a refi boom or anything like that. And everything has been probably, I would say, like 95% purchase. I think I did less than 10 refis last year.
Yeah. And, those are, I call those need refis. And guys that do a lot of purchase business, as you continue to originate a lot of loans and keep people happy, you get those calls to cash out for college, or maybe it's a divorce situation, or it's a true, I call it a need refi, not a refinance based on rate. And you're gonna have those. You're gonna want to take them because someone else is gonna take them, and they're your client. But your business, and I just want everyone to hear this. I think he said 90 to 95% purchase business, and that's referred by real estate agents. Correct?
Correct.
Pretty much. Okay. So tell us a little bit. So that's 100 loans. I think the average loan officer, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to speak out of school, closes about 2 to 3 loans a month. That's everyone. That's including the super quote-unquote experienced guys. Okay, so you're closing 3 to 4 times more than that. And let's face it, you really haven't been doing this that long. So share a little bit. I mean, it's a big, broad question, but Give me your broad overview about what it is to be a loan officer right now, what you think the most important things are, what you try to concentrate on every day. And then I want to get into what your day looks like, but let's go 40,000 feet first, just broad.
Okay. So broad standpoint right now, one of the biggest things is kind of responsiveness and being available, almost 24/7 for people. I know that people in different markets are going to be hearing this, but I know that the Boston market right now is absolutely insane. Properties staying on the market for more than like 48 hours means that, they're either priced completely wrong, or there's like built on a toxic waste dump.
Right.
So you got to be like ready to go all the time. So I've incorporated a lot of technology on my own that has always helped me to stay available, stay responsive, constantly be able to update people, remind them of what their numbers look like, quickly run numbers for them on properties, get them pre-approval letters out when I'm on the move, and things like that, which has all been really great.
So Austin,
so that's kind of a big thing. Another is there's a lot to be said for the differentiation of yourself from other people just through the amount of knowledge and the amount of information that you provide to people. I've found that a lot of the people that I work with basically are, nobody really knows, especially as a first-time home buyer, how complicated a mortgage is or what the mortgage world actually looks like. And rather than trying to scare them by informing them they don't know those things, I like to educate them just by kind of, organically building on a long kind of, not necessarily a train of thought, but a long train of ideas that kind of get them from one step to the next in the mortgage process itself, and kind of talk them through it, because at the end of that initial call, then they kind of think, oh my God, this is not something that I should be getting on the internet, with somebody that I never talked to or things like that. It's a very complicated process. It's a lot of money. It's big numbers. And, that's kind of one of those things that they don't really know it until they're, you like to make them think that they figured it out themselves, basically.
Hey, so Austin, you just gave us a whole bunch of stuff all at once. I got a couple questions on that. Number one, being accessible, being available. You've heard me preaching that for a long time. Loan officers that use their out of office email and turn their phones off at 5 usually don't do a lot of business. And if you're ever going to do that, you really have to earn the right to do it, and you have to really be at a certain level. So you said that you use some technology to help yourself be more available. Can you share with the audience some of the things maybe you use? I think people would love to hear that.
Sure. I would say there's one main thing that I use, which is I have a really thoroughly customized, built out version of Salesforce that I have built out over the years as my CRM. I was told by many people when I first got in this industry, I think even before I met you, before I was getting ready to go to California, that the number one thing I should do is track everybody I talk to and build an Excel spreadsheet and this and that. And I didn't listen because nobody listens. And then after about 3 or 4 months on the street, I realized that was a huge mistake, and I needed something that was significantly more robust than an Excel spreadsheet, which works for some people, but was not going to work for me. So I have been, you can buy really basic versions of Salesforce right out of the box. And the thing that I loved about that is it allowed me to customize everything in there. So, whenever I pull up somebody's, file in my CRM, I know exactly what their monthly housing payment can be at different DTIs. I know how long it's been since I pulled their credit. I know what their credit scores are. I know any notes that I have on them. So if somebody calls me, they get, thrown on speakerphone, or they get, thrown into my Bluetooth, and I just pull up their file and I take a quick glance at notes that I have, so that they're ready to go. And the other thing that I've found is I found a way also to sync my contacts from that. They push to my Exchange, which is my Outlook, which then, consequently pushes to my phone. So I, for one, always know who's calling me. So if it's a client, their name is always going to show up. And then if it's a number that I don't know, then I know that that's potentially new business. And that's something that, I need to kind of put somebody on hold for, and at least take a quick call and tell them I'll call them right back, or say hello or something like that too.
Now, are you dialing through Salesforce? Are you using that function? You're not.
I I usually don't. I tried it for a long time on their old app. It was really great. On their new app, it's more time consuming, which is why I found the way to push the contacts to my phone. Because if I'm on my, if you push your contacts to your Outlook, which then pushes them to your phone, whether I'm using, we use like Jabber or Cisco or something to dial out through our computer, so I can easily type in a name into my computer and click and call them, or I can just type their name into my phone and immediately has all their contact info. So there's no need to really do that. And I also find that on that, the thing about Salesforce, which is really nice, is you can log all these activities, which is great if you're working with like 50 people and you need to know what's going on. But I tend to, I don't worry that much about like logging every single call that I make to them. If I leave them a voicemail, like I'll just write a quick note, like 620 left voicemail or something like that, rather than going through the process of actually logging it, because that takes some time.
So for everyone listening, Austin said one thing very, very quickly. He really didn't even say it, but I'm going to translate it because those of you that deal with me know that I teach this or whatever. 5 years ago, whether you use Droid technology or whether you have an iPhone, your contacts were they were finite. Now it's infinite. And so Austin is putting every person, whether it's in his phone or in his Outlook, it doesn't matter, it's somewhere. So when his phone is ringing, he knows who it is. And he said this very quickly. If he doesn't, that's automatic for him. Okay, this is probably new business. And if it's not, he can look down while he's busy, while he's doing his thing, meeting with clients, doing whatever he's doing. He could be working out in the gym and know who it is. Oh, it's that person. Oh, it's this person. And what I teach, Austin, is using acronyms in the phone, actually, for, an agent is AGT, and a borrower might be, I call them a PP or a BIC, or I don't need to get into that now, but and then you just change the acronyms as they change in your life. So as soon as you look down, So, everyone, especially younger loan officers, when I teach older people this, they just freak out on me. They're like, oh, I got to do what? I got to look in I have to organize that. But the time that, and I don't know if you remember this, but I saw you playing with Salesforce because I was using it at the time when you started playing with it, and it's time consuming to get it set up. One of our good mutual friends, Eric Douglas, is, dialed the same way, and it takes a lot of time to get set up like that. But once you're set up, man, it feels pretty good, doesn't it? Especially since it's cloud-based and you're not going to lose it. It's not going to go anywhere. So that's number one. Is there anything else? I know you said that. Is there any other kind of little cool technology you're using that people might think is interesting to hear? And if not, it's okay.
That's the big one. The big one is Salesforce and the build out that I have and syncing it to my phone, and the ability to send like documents through there and stuff like that. We don't do any disclosure stuff or anything like that, but like you can save, like I have an FAQ or a document checklist and stuff like that that's all saved in there. So it has the ability to generate emails automatically that look a lot like I put a lot of time into them, which is a really great way to save some time in the day. I have at least 2 different mortgage calculators on my phone. I assume everybody has that probably now, but you can get an HP12C in the App Store. You can get the Qualifier Plus in the App Store.
Yeah, but Austin, let me just tell you a little secret about why you're doing so much business right now. I do big rooms of loan officers. I'll say, okay, who wants to come up here? And everybody, just so you know, Austin, we did spend a lot of time together, and I'm an old school guy, and I made sure that Austin knew the importance of being able to do what I call a napkin prequal. That's why he's talking about an HP12C, and there are a lot of loan officers listening right now that literally don't even know what that is. Okay, newer loan officers, because they have to have their laptop. They have to put it in there. They can't do it if it's not in there. And what Austin is talking about is the ability to do what I call a stand-up prequal, to be able to stand in front of an old school agent that's been around for a while, that's kind of looking at you like, who's this young buck? I'm not referring my big-time client to this guy. He's going to maybe make me look dumb. And to stand there and do what I call stand-up prequal on a napkin and prove very quickly to maybe a new relationship, okay, this guy might look young, but he's dialed. Like, he knows what he's doing. When he's talking to my client, he's not going to sound like a dummy. I just want to, Austin, you said that really fast, and you're kind of in your own world. You're not in the world that I'm in, and literally most people had no idea what you were even saying, meaning about the calculator in there, because they need their laptop to qualify. Okay, so the other thing you talked about is the whole experience thing, and I would love to hear what you had to say about this. I get asked this. I travel all over the country, do all kinds of stuff, and I'm talking to agents and loan officers all the time, and everyone's freaking out now, about technology, it's going to replace us and all this, and they're freaking out. And I always look at them and I say, hey, top 3 most stressful things in life. Number 1, death of a family member. Number 2, divorce. Number 3, buying or selling a house. Most people kind of like to talk to people during that, even if they start somewhere on the internet, and it's our job to explain to them that it would be nice for them to talk to us so we can walk them through the process. You went through that really quick. Are you actually, are you trying to belly? Or if you can get in front of someone, do you always try? What's your thoughts on that? I know you know mine, but what's your thoughts? You're in Boston, it's high tech, you're young. If you're dealing with a lot of people like you, between 28 and 35 or whatever it is, nobody wants to meet ever. Everyone wants to text everything. But I'm sure you've already figured this out because you're coming up on grizzled veteran status. Boy, it's a heck of a lot easier when you get to see somebody, and you can connect. Tell me your thoughts on that, or how you handle that, or what you do.
So, it's a tough concept because you're right. Like when I am lucky enough to actually sit down and meet with somebody face to face, that relationship is significantly more bonded than if you don't get to do that. I used to push that a lot harder, and it kind of has fallen by the wayside right now. I mean, it's one of those things that I'm not complaining about it, but it's like I have a lot going on, so it's hard to schedule and slot in meetings with people, especially because a lot of people are like, I'm too busy to do anything, let alone, take time out of a work day or even after work and come to see you at your office or at a coffee shop or whatever. I do tend to try and meet with people if I can, especially those that are local or that are buying local. And I tend to try and do it in a coffee shop. Because it seems more casual, a little bit less formal. And it also is the sort of thing where it's a lot easier to get somebody to go grab coffee than it is to get somebody to come to your office.
And sign docs or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, nobody does that anymore.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's one of those things where it's tough. And I mean, it's like you get one of those like weird, a weird loan file with a weird investor every once in a while that needs to be hand signed. And like I had somebody come in and have to sign 86 pages the other day. And it was great because they've already sent me a couple of their friends because I got that face-to-face time. And they were very appreciative of it. They've actually contacted me multiple times in their loan process about, how glad they were that I was local and I could talk to them and they could come in and meet. But they also were very candid about the fact that they never thought that they would do that throughout this process. So most people don't want to do it. I always offer. I always say, hey, if you want to come in and sit down and run through any of this, that's totally fine. If you're old school about your documents, come in, we'll scan them. That's totally fine. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of that with the clients anymore. That's something that I try and do extremely frequently with my referral partners. But from a client relationship standpoint, it's more about being able to take the extra 5 or 10 minutes on the phone with them when they finally get to the point of like feeling like they need to call you, basically. Taking the extra 5 or 10 minutes on the phone with them to really dive deep is where I've been able to develop that relationship.
So I want to, again, encapsulate that, and I want everyone to make sure they hear this. The new thing with technology, and look, Austin, you work for a company that's got pretty slick technology. You guys do. You and about 2 or 3 other companies are really at the tip of the spear with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, when I'm dealing with loan officers at one of those companies, and I go around and I go through people's process. Okay, what do you do? First, you talk to the person, or it's a text or an email. Austin, call this guy, or this guy's going to call you, or whatever. Loan officers are throwing these people into the technology literally within 30 seconds. There is no bonding, no talking, no, you said 5 to 10 minutes. There's nothing to just boom, okay, go in here and fill this out. There's nothing. And when I look at pull through on loan officers that do that, it's horrible versus pull through on a loan officer that takes 5 minutes or maybe 20 minutes, or as long as the people want to take to bond before I say this all the time, this technology, I look at it like it's a steel ball, right? It's just steel. we're throwing people at steel. And I tell loan officers, can you put like some fuzzy stuff around that? Like, can you warm that up? How can you warm up the experience? Because then your pull-through will go through the roof. And I wanted everyone to hear you flat out saying that. You're 31 years old. If someone's going to be nerdy and techie and whatever, it's going to be you, okay? And you just said, hey, I'm spending time. I'm getting them on the phone, and I'm spending time with them on the phone to bond. And it sounds insignificant, but it's massive, especially today and as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, you need to leverage the technology in a very specific way. So, for me, I'm not taking an application over the phone. I'm not spending 20 minutes asking them how to spell the street that they lived on 3 years ago, or anything like that. What I am doing is, building a little bit of rapport and kind of trying to build credibility by answering any question that they can throw at me. And especially with a lot of young people, the line that gets me a lot of traction is like, okay, like what did your dad tell you to ask me? Because everyone has questions that their parents are always chirping in their ear, or their uncle, or their crazy aunt who used to be a loan officer in 2007, and all this crazy stuff, and they want to know about negative amortization schedules and like these arms that are going to blow the world up again and stuff like that. And being able to speak to the history of things, where things are going, where things are at now, is very helpful. But you don't want to be spending 15 minutes just to ask them how to spell stuff, because that's unnecessary. So whether it's a quick phone call in the beginning, I like to call, if I can, to introduce myself and just chat and make them understand that there's a voice on the other end of the phone before they fill out an application. But if they do fill out an application first, or once they do fill out that application, then I'm diving deep with them, talking about, oh, I see you work for HubSpot, or I see you work for Amazon. I know they're coming to Boston. Like, what's that like? And, a couple of quick little things just to make them understand that you're human. And then I give them the numbers, and then I just let them, I say, go nuts, fire away with questions, because you can give a spiel kind of in any one of a number of different ways, but you're not going to gain as much traction on that as if you let them, in my opinion, drive the conversation a little bit. I liken it a lot with my younger clients to like being in a lecture hall versus being in like a small, TA session at like a college or a university, which a lot of kids around here, there's so many schools around here that tends to sync up very well with something that like registers for them. And it's the sort of thing where, you basically in lecture, you check out, or you're playing Super Mario Brothers on your calculator or whatever you can do. And then, if you're in a smaller session and you're actually asking questions that you care about and want to know the answers to, you're going to find yourself significantly more engaged, whether you recognize that or not.
So again, just so everyone heard what Austin just said, the things that years ago, you had to do everything. You had to get the spelling of the street. You had to do that. You don't have to do that now. So years ago, when I used to coach and train and do speaking.
Keep it in the trunk of your car. Isn't that what you used to do?
Yeah, but I used to say, absolutely. But what I used to say is high touch, low tech equals big money. High tech, low touch equals little money. Now I say high tech, high touch, which is basically what you just said. And but what's happening is loan officers have taken this tech thing and taken it to an edge where they're losing. They're losing. They're not keeping the loans. They're not keeping the buyers. The buyers are moving around. They're losing out on a contract. They're jumping agents, and then they're over here. There's no connection. And there's nothing more valuable than that referral. That's so valuable. And what they're doing is they're throwing it at the technology. I wanted everyone to really hear that I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. This is a great message for all loan officers, not just young loan officers. It doesn't matter. Hey, yeah, the technology's there. Yeah, the technology is extremely slick. Yes, you probably could get away with never speaking to anyone ever, depending on how you're getting referrals, right? But the reality of it is, if you do, you get way more referrals, and your hourly rate goes through the roof. And a big word that a lot of loan officers don't even understand, your pull-through goes through the roof. And pull-through simply means a referral. I look at pull-through like 60 days, depending on the market, maybe 90 if it's a tight market. Did it close within 60 days? They were referred to you today, the 20th. Did it close by August 20th? Okay, that goes in your pull-through. Then it's you're 100% pull through. It could be 90 in a horrible market. A tough market where there's nothing on the market and the people are out there looking for that long. So That's a great message. So what else, Austin? What would you tell loan officers? I mean, you've gone from doing one loan a month to 2 loans a month to 3. You're strategically, organically growing. I know why you're doing it. Okay, because as you deepen relationships, people sell more houses, and it is what it is. What would you give me some nuggets? What would you tell people besides being responsive? Again, I don't want to brush by that, but when I hear a loan officer tell me, yeah, well, that's my private time. That's my family time. Yeah, I'm turning my phone off. I'm like, hey, cool. Just so you know, it's going to take you a long time to do a lot of loans because you don't understand what you signed up for. You want to get paid like a surgeon? Live in the hospital for 2 years. Work 24/7, then you can get paid like a surgeon. What else? Being responsive, definitely being knowledgeable, taking the time to actually talk to people. Tell me what else. Maybe with agent partners. Give us some other good Austin stuff because you're killing it.
Sure. Well, so something that kind of bridges the gap between the availability and the agent partner questions. So one of the things, you always stress that same thing with me. You want to get paid like a surgeon, live in the hospital for a couple of years, and then we can talk about it, which is very true. But what you kind of have to constantly be tracking along with your referral partners is like what type of relationship do you have? How many deals have they sent to you? Do they trust you with your clients or with their clients, their high profile clients? Are you the only name they're giving out? And you don't really have to track all of those things specifically, but you have to kind of track the vibe that you get from them and from their clients. I have some people who will, send me a text message and say, hey, like, I know it's 10:30 at night and I know offers are due at noon tomorrow, but I don't need you to reach out to this person right now because I know you'll do it at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and you'll have it done by noon, but like, I need it. I just like, here's the heads up. And then you have people who haven't worked with you for a very long time who say, hey, it's midnight on a Friday and I need this pre-approval right now. And you want to sit there and say, well, you probably don't really need it right now because they're probably reviewing offers on Tuesday. But then you have to think, well, look, this person is really anxious. They've never worked with me before. And you have to totally put yourself in their position, which is they got a client that wants to make an offer on a $1.5 million property. And that's a really huge deal for them. So being able to respond to them and get that pre-approval letter out at midnight or at 12:15 or at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. so they can get their offer in quickly is really important to them. And you need to be able to kind of track who you're working with, how long you've been working with them, and then the relationship that you have. So, you can basically, you don't have to necessarily like always be available to every single person because there are going to be, and this is again why I make sure that everybody is in my phone, because there are going to be agents that you can call back in 10 minutes and are not going to lose their minds about it. There are clients that also are of the same relationship or the same kind of just general vibe. And you also know that there are going to be people who are going to call you and you're like, I need to stop everything that I'm doing and get out of the shower and pick up the phone because they're going to lose their mind if I don't answer it right now, whether that's a client or an attorney or a broker or whoever it is. So as you have these people, I'm constantly tracking it because you can kind of get people to the point where you're friends with them, you know their families, you understand, and you understand each other and you have a good relationship. And you don't have to necessarily feel like every time your phone makes any sort of notification, you immediately need to stop what you're doing and get out your computer or fire something up. But that being said, you're always going to be doing that with some people, and then you're always going to have some other people that you're transitioning into, these different groups of people that you can work with in kind of a little bit more relaxed or like a normal setting, for lack of a better term. And I know you have something to say on that.
No, you hit on something that's huge, and it's a deep, deep subject. And we'll probably, based on time, maybe end on this, because if the only thing loan officers heard was this, it's a game changer. And I tell loan officers this all the time. You basically just said it, but I'm gonna say it a little different way. I hear loan officers all the time complaining about agents, about real estate agents, and how they do their business, and they didn't fill this document out correctly as part of the contract, and they're crazed, and they're calling me every day, and they're that this is going on and that's going on, and blah, 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 blah. And I say to them, they say, man, I never want to work with that person again. I hear this all the time, and I say to the loan officers, I say, let me ask you a question. You've never worked with this person before, right? And they say, right. And I say, so they don't know you and you don't know them. I said, when they meet a new loan officer, agents, what they see is they see a combination of every other loan officer they've ever dealt with. And let's face it, a lot of loan officers are not professional, okay? They do turn their phones off at 5. They do disappear. They do miss closing dates. They do all kinds of stuff like that. So when you meet, a new agent, they're automatically suspect. If an agent is calling you every day, yes, they could be psycho. Okay, but the real reason they probably are is every transaction they probably have, they got to call a loan officer every day to get it closed. So to not take that personally and try to push through it and understand that on the other side could be a great relationship, which is exactly what you said, okay? And I'm just saying a little different way because I heard what you said loud and clear because I talk about this all the time. That's a huge concept right there. I hear loan officers all the time saying, I never want to work with that person again. They're crazy. They're crazy. They're insane. All they care about is their commission. This, that, or the other. And I say, now, wait a minute. Hold on. Did you ever think that they're just a little damaged from the other transactions that they've had and they just look at you as the same person? Did you ever try to just take a minute and work through it and show them you're not that person? Oh, by the way, you don't need to call me every day. It's done. Everything's done. I told you it was going to be done. It's done. Whoa, wow, really? I don't need to call and check on it every day? And, it's a huge, huge concept because, again, average agent sells, I think it's like 4.3 houses a year or something like that, which is crazy, crazy low number. Okay, so, yeah, a lot of agents get crazed about their one transaction for 2 months, right? And as a newer loan officer out there hustling, some of these are the people that you're meeting, not the better agents that are more dialed in. So it's easy for you to create your own vicious circle and basically, let's put it bluntly, screw yourself, out of what could have been a really, really good, great relationship. And you went back again to the being available piece. And, what I want everyone to hear, and I think I'd love for you to just tell everyone so they heard it from you, not from me, that goes away when the relationship gets deeper. And, what Austin was talking about is, sort of, I call it the platoon system, division, platoon 1, platoon 2, really knowing, the depth of your relationships. But I think that as that relationship gets deeper, all that stress goes away, man. They're not calling you at 12 midnight ever because they wouldn't want you to call them at 12 midnight. And if they do call you at 12 midnight, it's something really serious and you are glad to take their call. I got a reload from Afghanistan coming in. Austin, can you please? No problem. Because it's 12 noon over there, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's totally right. I mean, it is the sort of thing where you do build those relationships over time, but everybody that you talk to at the beginning is freaking out about every single thing because the other thing that, a lot of people don't realize is that they're most concerned with, at least the ones that kind of get it, so to speak, are most concerned with turning each transaction into 2 more. You want to leave a good taste in the mouth of everybody in the transaction so that they're going to refer you later. And for the real estate agent, if you look at it kind of from a top-down perspective, there's the client, there's the agent, there's you, then there's the attorney. And so everybody's trying to please the person above them. So you want to make sure that the real estate agent feels really good about it. And the best way to do that is, one, be super proactive about your communication, like things like, I email everybody when we order the appraisal. Like, people think I'm insane. I get so many thank yous from the listing agents being like, oh my God, thanks for the heads up that I should be looking out for a call from an appraiser. I'm going to pick up every phone number I don't know in the next 2 days because I want to get the appraiser in super fast because our timeline is tight. Emailing everybody and letting them know that the appraisal came in, or just checking in with people when the contract's supposed to be signed. Hey, I know the contract's supposed to be signed today, aka I'm really on top of everything, so I need that. Just a reminder, because you'd be shocked at how often people forget to send that over. So you do that with the proactive communication, but you also do that by pleasing their client and making them look really still get,
say
calls from
that
people like,
again. It's such a huge concept that if every loan officer, the only thing they thought about every day was the client, their borrower, going back to the agent and saying, wow, thank you for referring me to Austin. He's the man. Wow, is he awesome?
Yeah.
Game, set, match, right?
That's really the most important thing, because if you get one ringing endorsement, you get one ringing endorsement and you're set, but you get one poor endorsement and you're sunk. Like, there's no real way. It's really difficult to come back from that. And that's the sort of thing that, as everybody, the funny thing is everybody thinks like, oh, I need a big team. Like, I need a big team to do a ton of business. And I still don't have like an assistant, because I've leveraged technology, and I've gone through a couple of assistants who haven't worked out, because you get feedback from people about, hey, like, as your team has been growing, we haven't gotten like these glorious reviews from our clients anymore. So while having a big team is nice, it also makes your job that much more complicated, in that you're now responsible for other people behaving on behalf of you in the same way that you kind of behave on behalf of the agent. So, it's one of those things you always have to constantly be aware of. Whenever we get customer satisfaction reviews back, whether they're good or bad, we go over them. As a team, we talk about, hey, what were the pain points? Is this a legitimate, like, if it's a bad review, it's like, okay, what actually happened with this person? Did they tank their credit in the middle of the process and we had to fix it, and we actually pull off a miracle, and they thought that was inconvenient for them? Maybe. And if that's the case, then we're not as worried about it, and we take the time to explain that to the agent. But really, you want to get to the point where I've had this call with somebody yesterday where, we've been working together for 6 months with a client called one of the big banks. They undercut me on the rate by an eighth, and they went with the big bank, and it's already a disaster of a process, and they're already getting cranky. And the agent is calling me, kind of just lamenting the fact, being like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, just a thousand times thank you for everything in the past, and I'll never let anybody do this ever again, because it's already becoming 3 or 4 phone calls a day that I can't handle, because I'm trying to build my business, and this person is calling me complaining about their lender. And that's just something that I never really recognized. She's a younger agent. She's doing really, really, really well. And she and I had kind of worked together since the inception of her career. And now that she's having more and more people in this tight market, disappearing to other lenders, she really recognizes like how much of a disaster it really can be. And so, sometimes you lose 1 or 2, and it's really frustrating as a loan officer, but it ultimately could, in a weird way, help your business in the long run, depending on obviously, who they go to or something like that. But
I call that lose 1, get 10. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So I'm looking at the clock. We are running out of time, but this has been awesome, and I know what's going to happen. People are going to see this, and we're going to have to do another one, because we didn't even get to so many good things about what you're doing, because I know a lot about what you're doing, and but if we go to we know how loan officers are, right? They'll be sound asleep. They can only last so long, even though you hit so many good nuggets. And I would suggest anyone listening to this, take your time and take some notes, because there's huge concept things in here that you can implement immediately in your business. Simple things. Simple. Be available. Boy, that's high tech right there. Be available. Actually, talk.
Let me give them one more thing for the people that hung with us.
Your clients. No, absolutely. Go ahead. One more, and then we'll get rid of you. Go ahead.
So this is something that seems to blow people's minds every time I've said it, which I think is a little bit strange, but I'm just going to give it out there anyways. Everyone's always talking about like, oh, like, where do I find real estate agents? Where do I find real estate agents? They're in their offices, obviously. And so you can walk into every single one of their offices, but you'll learn this as you grow as well, that the ones that are in their office, especially for 4 or 5 hours a day, are probably not actually doing their job, which is to be out selling real estate. On Facebook nowadays, Instagram, everywhere, go follow a bunch of agents you want to follow. They're going to post, I guarantee it, every single week where their open houses are. The thing about an office is twofold. Number one, if you walk in there, they might not be there. And number two, if you walk in there and they are in there, they might kick you out, or they might close the door on you. Excuse me. They can hang up the phone on you. They can close the door on you, all that sort of stuff. You go to an open house, you know they are stuck there for 2 hours and they're going to have to deal with you, whether they like it or not. Walk in there, introduce yourself. You are showing them you are working on the weekend. You are showing them you are available on the weekend. You are showing them that you are interested in them, interested in the market, and you know that they're not going to be able to just hang up on you or close the door on you or have, you know, the gatekeeper, which you and I have talked about for years, like, you know, stop you in your tracks or anything like that, because there is no gatekeeper unless you're in like a high-rise condo building. But either way, like, no one's going to stop you because they think that you're probably a client walking in there. It has given me so much kind of clout within the industry in the Boston area. You know, I've even had listing agents call me up, say, hey, like, I have a pre-approval with your name on it. Like, you're that guy that came to my open house the other day, right? Like, just wanted to make sure that was you. Like, really got a good vibe. Like, here's some questions. Like, but would love to work together. Yes,
so just for clarity, Austin, you were about to say that. So that means you actually work on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So just for all you listeners out there, if you want to get hit by a car, where do you stand? Traffic. If you want to meet agents, where do you go? Go where they are. We could expand on that. And actually, next time I want to talk more about that. It'd be actually fun to even role play that for people. I'm sure they'd really like it with the open house pop by. You know, you've role played it with me before. But anyway, Austin, I want to sincerely thank you for your time. We created a pretty long show today, but I think there's so much awesome stuff in it. I think anyone that's not going to listen to you is a dummy. And I think you can give a lot of inspiration to some older people that are stuck in a rut and maybe some younger people that want to get into the business, because really you're 5-6 years in and you're striding, and you know that patience paid off. So I look forward to talking to you again soon. I want to sincerely thank you for being on the Big Joel Show, and have an awesome week.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Always good catching up with you. And hopefully, like you said, hopefully some of the stuff that I said will be helpful to people. And always happy to come on the show. So if you need me again later, just let me know.